Good morning, universe. All right, let's try this again. Oh, man. Yesterday, my friends, was one of those days when you had to choose to be happy. Okay, so, what is going on? I have been thinking a lot in the last couple of days about this. So, I told you guys I've gotten through season 1 of Game of Thrones, or season 1 and season 2. So, I have been reading the first book, A Song of Ice and Fire. And when I've been watching these interviews with the author, George R.R. Martin, as well as the executive producers / co-creators of the TV series, Game of Thrones, they talked about how in their first meeting, George R. or Martin, let's just, instead of pronouncing his name every time, asked them who was Jon Snow's mother. He said that was a big thing, because George R.R. Martin already knows how the entire series of books is going to end. He has masterminded it through the 7th book. So, I got to thinking about the character of Jon Snow in the books and in the TV series. His behavior, his looks, and the behavior of other characters, like Robert, like Edward or Ned Stark, about the Stark family, and about the Baratheon family. And I have a theory as to who Jon Snow's mother is. And I'm going to do a video about it. This is also going to be a video when I do it that is going to tell you how I think Game of Thrones will end. Now, I haven't gotten through the first book entirely, so please keep that in mind. I have just started. It's like a 700-page book from what I understand. I'm going based on what the series does and based on some of the things that are said or not said in the book. So let's see how good my deduction skills are as time goes on. Got to adjust you a little bit. There you go. You're kind of bouncing. So that is one of the videos I'm going to do. A couple of other things that are real interesting I heard in the news. First, and significantly, is I heard this morning that the AMA has now declared obesity a disease, which may ultimately benefit. Stop bouncing. You're not a ball. Image. Which means that ultimately obesity may be declared a disease, or it is declared a disease. So I got off track because of the camera thing. So there's a possibility that obesity is actually going to be, it's going to be pressured now, since it's considered a disease by the American Medical Association, AMA, that now insurance companies will be pressured to cover it. That's not going to make insurance companies happy. It'll certainly make some people happy. Of course, it's also meaning that if insurance companies get control of it and obesity is declared a disease, there's a chance it could also stop, basic products on the market from trying to help to contribute to weight loss, and increased metabolism, because they may say it's a disease. And as a result, it may cut down on some of the products in the market that are not currently prescriptions. So it could be an action by insurance companies to gain more control over those items and to overcharge for them so they can make more money. So keep in mind, it's a double-edged sword. It could go one way or another. I believe ultimately it's probably about money. The American Medical Association makes more money. And why are you bouncing so much today? Makes more money if...
Stop recording video. Button.
Oh, be quiet. The American Medical Association's doctors will make more money if there are more prescription drugs, which insurance companies control in a lot of ways. They'll make more money off of it. So it's probably really more of a money issue versus caring as much about Americans. Because there's all kinds of issues that cause obesity. There's glandular issues. There's self-confidence issues, which is completely psychological. And a doctor's not going to solve that. Not a general practitioner doctor, a GP or whatever you call it. So there's a lot of money motivations in this whole process, I'm sure. So just FYI on that. The other thing that I heard was that 1 in 9 bridges are considered structurally unsound. There was a interstate in Washington that collapsed. I'm not sure if you've heard the story or not. An interstate that collapsed in Washington with traffic on it. I don't know how many deaths there were at the time. I'm not entirely sure, but you can be certain there was an amount of them as a result of this kind of thing happening. So it doesn't say a lot for those construction companies to get those contracts, either because they just don't put as much effort into it as they need to, or their numbers are not solid enough, or the weight of vehicles that have traveled over them, they didn't, do the right math, basically. It's a scary thought, though, because 1 in 9, which means that every time you get on a bridge of some nature, you have a more than a 10% chance of falling through it. That's not very good odds. I would not want to be on one of those bridges. Why are you moving today, camera? Please stop that. You're irritating the snot out of me. So, there you go. There's that. And then I also heard that Betty White, Hot in Cleveland, is doing like some other shows tonight and going live. And as a result, one of the stars, Betty White, who is now 91 years old, I can't believe she's 91 years old, is going to be performing. Can't believe Betty White is 91 years old. That's shocking to me. I know it was 50 years ago, but you just look at her in some of those old shows that she was in, and you see that youth, and it's hard to believe that over half a century has gone by. When you look at those shows, just there's so much history on television. So that's interesting. Be interested to see how she does with her live performance. I'm not going to see it, but I'll look for reports and see it. I'm not really much into Hot in Cleveland, but if you watch TV Land, tonight is supposed to be a live episode, so if you like special occasions, you might want to check it out, because it will only be quote-unquote live once, even though it's still pretty much pre-taped. So check it out if you like that. And my phone's irritating the crap out of me today. This whole base is just, it's like it's having a malfunction issue for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. So that's a lot of the things that are on my mind right now. Pretty interesting, though, to me, the Game of Thrones theory that I have now. I'm really interested in seeing what that adds up to. See what else is in the news. They're giving a lot of praise to Kanye West because of this, I think it's Yeshi or Yeezus or whatever this album he has coming out, getting a lot of praise. It's stupid, if you ask me. I will never listen to the album because Kanye West has become one of the most arrogant asses in the world. And if you support that, then you're basically saying you like people who think they're gods over you. And no human being is better than any other human being from a creation standpoint. Some people make horrible choices and have bad sense of morality. Let me tell you something. Kanye West is not exactly a moral figure. And if you support that, then you're basically saying that I prefer that kind of thing. It's just like when I went back with the whole thing with Chris Brown. He abused the hell out of Rihanna, and yet people still supported his work. You're enabling a dick. You're enabling someone who doesn't put any value in other human beings, only himself. And believe it, you're in an abusive relationship with a man if you listen or buy his music. Because if you don't think he cares about people in his life, what makes you think he cares anything about the people who buy his albums? All your effort is dollar signs to him. He couldn't care less about you as a human being. And the same goes for Kanye West. He's de-evolved as a person. And that's not a problem of entertainment. That's a choice he made to de-evolve. So, screw your behavior. If you think you're God over other people, I hate to break it to you, that makes you less of a man than a man, in my opinion. You don't ever look at yourself as better than other people. You may be different, but you sure as hell better not put yourself up on a pedestal. And when people put themselves up on a pedestal, it's usually because they're incredibly insecure about who they really are. And I'd be insecure too if I was Kanye West, because he's made really poor choices. Now, here's something else that goes, and it's a matter of choice, and you can look at it good or bad. There was a 5-year-old kid, I'm not sure if he was 5 or his daughter, or his sister was 5. I don't remember off the top of my head. But he beat his sister using wrestling moves that he saw on television. And then he was sorry for it. But pro wrestling is where he learned it. Well, let me give you a little insight. You can't hold pro wrestling responsible for that. First off, is he's a little kid and can't distinguish or is not properly informed about the difference between story and reality. That's a parental issue. It really is. Not to mention that people like WWE have advertisements that bookend their shows. I don't know if they do it right now or not. But in the days when I watched it, they had parts on their shows that bookended it that said, please don't try this at home. We're trained professionals. And they are. They're called stuntmen. With little to minimal to a lot of acting experience or talent. You don't try wrestling moves at home, especially not full force. If you're going to wrestle, there's those backyard wrestlers who do the tricks like the swan toms and figure fours and all that stuff. If you're an adult and you're doing that, you're either A, trained, or if you're doing it without consideration of the moves and the training that the people in wrestling, particularly the #1 wrestling organization being WWE. If you don't understand how they really pull it off and the effort they put into it, you haven't gone to that school training. They call it a wrestling school, really it's a form of stunt training. Then guess what? You're not using your brain. You can't blame wrestling because you didn't heed their warnings to not try it at home because they're trained. And if you're a parent, you need to either not let your child watch it or let your child know it's a play. It's a physical play, but it's a play. I can rant on and on about it. You can't blame media for your behavior. You really can't. You can't blame YouTube, you can't blame movies, you can't blame you can't blame reality shows, you can't blame television. Quick note on reality shows, staged. There's no such thing as a reality show, it's just cheap, unexperienced, less than quality actors. They're doing a show. Make no mistake about it. People are after their 15 minutes of fame. Some are more talented than others. But let's face it, it's all... You wouldn't have directors if it was real. You'd be following it with cameramen, and you would have an editor and a creative direction in some capacity. You wouldn't have a director. Okay? A director creates the story of the moment, okay? That's a director. And he's on set. So guess what? You got directors. If it's not natural and it's being created in the moment, it's not called reality. It may be a recreation of reality or in some semblance, but it's not reality. Bottom line, don't blame TVs, movies, plays, video games. Educate your children or don't let them do it. It's as easy as that. You put them in front of the TV because either you didn't want them in your way or because you wanted to give them some entertainment. Wrestling, as an example, is no different than cartoons. It's just real people doing it, but it's animated, it's drawn, it's not real as far as the impact of it. Just look at the way they stomp each other, look at their punches. You can look on almost any time of a TV show for wrestling and see when a punch is fake. Okay? You can. Just look at it and you can see. They're either doing this. If you ever see them put their hand on someone's head like this, and then they shoot a shot at it, they're not hitting the person. It's like this. They're hitting themselves. They're doing this. That's a fake punch. And they're moving their hand. It's fake. It's stage. It's a play. Ever see a back slap for someone? That's a sound effect. It's hand to hand. That's what it is. Just get educated and protect yourselves and don't blame television for it. Alright. I know you're probably completely drunk because I've shaken you so hard. And we're way over 15 minutes now. But I really wanted to talk about all this stuff. Yesterday was kind of a ho-hum. Oh, you like my new tank top? I got a Superman one too. Got them this morning. Anyways, that's it. Better day today except for the rockiness of the camera. And I do apologize for that. We'll get it worked out. Thanks for watching. Hope you got some exercise in today. Take care of yourselves and I will see you next time. Remember, it's entertainment. This is real. But if I was punching or hitting someone, it wouldn't be real. Because otherwise I would be in jail. Alright, take care of yourselves. Have a great day and live with passion.